a lot of myths out there and a lot of things that people are confused about, especially with like the internet being out there. There's basically everything that you need to know. And then that's probably like 1 or 2% of actual information out there. The rest of it is a bunch of just stuff, whether it's just people that don't understand what they're saying is incorrect, or they're trying to make money off of it, try to be flashy and stuff like that. So just gonna run through a handful of them. We could be here for a couple days if I actually ran through everything. So these are gonna be kind of like some of the top ones that I've ran into, whether my clients have asked about it, whether I've heard other clients ask about it, so much and so forth. But yeah, we're just gonna get into it. So Fitness Myth 101, we're just gonna go through and start debunking some of them. I'll run through a couple of the topics, and so we'll getting ahead of myself. So gonna be a couple of them. The three that I'm going to touch on today is going to be nutritional misinformation, weightlifting, and working out myths, and then cardio myths. At the end of each section, I will open up comments and stuff like that. So if there's anything I missed or if there's anything else on any of these topics you guys want me to touch on, I'll promise you I'll get to it. And we'll kind of cover everything else. Or if you have anything that's like super like close to what I was talking about, put it in the chat and I could get around to it as well. So starting off, kind of like the big things for like why misinformation is just like like why does information or like myths matter? The big things are just like there's a lot of things that could come harm from it. Kind of the biggest things being number one, injury risk. So this is kind of like more towards the weightlifting aspect of everything. But there's a lot of things out there where people, like I said, that try to be like innovative or try to add like flashy new exercise out there to make things seem different, to make them stand out. And a lot of times these are just not good exercises that can lead to you harming yourself. So there's many fitness myths that promote exercise without emphasizing proper form. So it could just be like, oh, this one makes it feel better, it looks flashier, it looks cooler, it looks like something you've never done before. But with some of those things, usually those people don't really care about if they're very stable, or they care about if there is something that is keeping you working in a safe fashion. So that's one thing that's to keep out for, is just because it looks cool or people say like, hey, this is the best movement to build X, Y, and Z, might not always be the best. With that, there's overtraining as well. So there's a lot of people that talk about very, very high volume workouts. So some of this push people to exercise excessively without allowing rest and recovery. So like some people are like, oh, hey, like you need to do like 4 or 5 sets and you do like 15, 20 reps. And sometimes like depending on your recovery and depending on how well your nutrition is and stuff like that, you can lead to injuries, like stretch fractures, tendonitis, chronic fatigue, a bunch of different things that if you just follow some random Joe Schmo workout online without any like proper guidance, it could be something that's overtraining that leads to injury. With that, this is probably something that everyone's seen, but unhealthy weight loss practices. So there's a bunch of them out there. Not saying that these all are, but there's some like Weight Watchers and stuff like that, where for like especially females, they'll say like, okay, here you go, 1,200 calories. That's what you're gonna be put on. For the vast majority of people, that's gonna be way too low in calories. And so there's things like that. There's many fitness programs out there that kind of just like give you a one-all thing that actually hurts you more than it's going to help you. So a lot of times I'm sure you've seen like, oh, get abs in like 6 weeks, you get abs in like 12 weeks, or something like that. So there's a lot of quick fixes out there for weight loss, such as like crash diets, fasting, or detoxes. And a lot of times they can not only not work, but lead to certain things like nutritional deficiencies, muscle loss, and metabolic slowdowns. Especially a bunch of my clients on here, as well as I know a lot of them, we kind of touched on it a little bit at the beginning. Eric was talking about metabolic adaptation. There's a lot of programs that done incorrectly can actually damage your metabolism. So in that way, even if you were following a correct program later, it's kind of damaged your body already. Can lead to disorder eating on the more extreme end, but there's a lot of pressure to be like, hey, like Weight Watchers or like these ones that are just like supposed to like make you lose weight super, super quickly. Can trigger a unhealthy eating pattern and eating disorders like anorexia or bulimia. And it can lead to a horrible relationship with food. It's something that I've ran into with a lot of clients where like they get to the point where like you have super restrictive diets and they just aren't good diets, but it leads to you having a horrible relationship with food that you now don't think of food as fuel. You kind of think of like, can I eat this? Can I not eat this? And it leads to a bunch of different things. With that, oh, I keep skipping over them. So there's some other things, just a couple more. Some mental emotional harm, body image, especially with social media being so prevalent nowadays. There's a lot of myths promoting unrealistic body standards, body dissatisfaction, low self-esteem, and mental health struggles. Like there's a lot of things where people either edit their photos, and stuff like that. Or they say like, oh, I did these to get this body. You do this, you'll get the same body I have. Everyone has different genetics. Everyone has um, different in terms of how well they build muscle, how they hold fat, where they hold fat. And so a lot of times these myths are like, hey, like you do this, it's going to get you here, and everyone responds differently, kind of leading into the false expectations. So they can lead into unrealistic expectations about the speed and the ease of achieving fitness goals. So just kind of like if someone wants to like raise their hand or give a little bit of shout, but like how many times have you seen before this program, just like a rough number, like how many times have you ran into like a program that says like in X amount of week, we can get you shredded with a six pack and it's like super, super easy. If people just want to raise their hands or type in the chat or anything like that, or even give examples. Yep, seeing a bunch of hands going up and cameras right now. Unfortunately, especially with social media, is very, very common. Unfortunately, a little bit too common. And so then one of the biggest things, especially because the gym is so important in my life that I've ran into, is when people do things like this and they get so like disheartened and they get so down on themselves about it that they never want to do it again, that they never want to go to the gym, that they never want to try this process again, is the thing that it really, really frustrates me. So the fact that that is so prevalent is very, very annoying. And it kind of like probably maybe even the most common thing for a lot of people is financial loss. So losing money on supplements and gadgets. There's a lot of fitness myths that promote like special fat burning supplements. Like you don't have to do anything else but take the supplement, you're going to lose weight. Gadgets or special workout equipment that promise quick results, which we'll dive into here in a little bit when I talk about the fitness side of like workouts myths. There's gonna be a lot of them. Like the probably number one, which I'll talk about here a little bit more, is gonna be like shake weight. Every single person knows what a shake weight is, and they always like that's like the biggest thing. Like probably like a decade or so ago, everyone knows what a shake weight is, and it just promises it's going to tone your arms, it's going to burn off that fat. That's like the perfect example of just like misinformation and myth, where it honestly doesn't do anything. And even it does burn a little bit of calories, but even at that, it does a poor job. So last thing is gonna be unnecessary programs or classes. So pushing like very, very expensive, like, hey, you need to take this class to be able to get into the shape, or like you need to do X, Y, and Z. And a lot of times that flashiness and stuff is just the stuff that just does not work. And it's more just like people trying to get money because it's now flashy and stuff. So leading right into it, I'm gonna start off with nutrition. So these are gonna be kind of some of the top ones that I've heard, and a lot of people know about. The first one is carbs make you fat. That's probably the most common thing that I've heard in terms of like why people are overweight is because, or people that are trying to give you advice. How many people here, same thing, raise your hand, stuff like that, has someone told you that the reason that you're overweight or the reason that you've gained fat at some point in your life is because you're eating carbs? How many people have said that? Just raise your hands, put it in the chat, whatever it may be. Yep, starting to see more hands again. Exactly. So also Damon, wife has a shaker from TikTok. Exactly. So TikTok's probably even like worse. Like if there was the shake weights around when it was like TikTok, like they would make even more money. So that is definitely very true. But carbs making your fats, it's just like completely false. Like it couldn't be more from like the truth on what actually makes you overweight, why you gain fat. And so carbs are very, very, oh my gosh, Damon, $215 for a shaker. Okay, that's pretty insane. I really hope, I don't know, you're gonna have to be shaking a lot for it to make it with that worth. But yeah, something like that kind of like hits right on the head on spending on money on stuff. That just does not do what it says it's gonna do. But carbs making fat, especially complex ones, are the most efficient way of getting energy. So technically you don't need carbs to live. You can live without carbs, but they are the most readily available form of energy, especially if you're someone that wants to do high energy workouts. You want to do something where you're pushing yourself in the workouts. Making sure you have carbs is essential for making sure that you have the best workouts possible, as well as having enough energy to be able to push yourself day in, day out, especially if you do multiple workouts. Leading into that, fats make you fat. Once again, carbs and fats themselves will not make you fat. Everything is if you eat it past what you burn. So if you eat in a caloric surplus for an extended amount of time, that is what makes you gain fat. It is not the macronutrients themselves, especially fats. So carbs are not necessary for you to live, but fats are. They're very, very essential for pretty much every single hormone function and production, brain function, and overall health. So fats are incredibly crucial that most people are saying like, hey, fats make you fat because it's fat. James still eating cheese pizza as long as I have room macros. Perfect. Yep. Everyone's hitting on the head. So as long as you can fit it in your macros, everything is healthy in moderation, short of drugs and alcohol, which I won't get into that right now. Those are the ones that are inherently don't have nutritional value. But short of that, carbs and fats are not going to make you fat. The other one, kind of like the anabolic window. When I first started getting into working out, this was the biggest thing, where you needed to consume protein within 30 minutes of working out. So within 30 minutes of working out, your body definitely absorbs protein and carbs a little bit better, but it's not, you don't have to. You're not going to lose your gains if you don't consume protein within that 30-minute workouts. How many people have heard this one as well? Like, how many people have heard, like, you have to consume it? Yep. Thanks, Paul. Like, everyone's like, pretty much, if you've been in the gym and you've worked out, everyone always tells you, like, when you start getting in, it's 30 minutes. That's just not true. Your body has several hours to be able to recover. And at the end of the day, like carbs and fats, it is based off of the day, the amount of protein that you're getting in per the 24 hours. Excellent. With that, detox diets and cleanses are necessary. So this is one that drives me nuts. Our bodies are machines, and they are very, 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 very good at making sure we're staying healthy, especially detoxifying yourself. Liver and kidneys, that's pretty much their entire function, is to make sure that anything you put in your body does not harm you. And so detox diets can be very harmful, especially because they remove a lot of things. How many people have been or heard of like the diets where like you need to do like a liquid only diet, like a juice only diet? Or how many people have done one? If anyone wants to like shout out, give their experience with it, or if anyone's been through it, just raise your hand or give it a shout. Or if anyone would like to talk about it, they're more than welcome to. James, juice cleanse is hell. Yep. Excellent. Yeah. So if anyone's ever done it, yeah, you end up finding at the end that it doesn't really do too much for you, and it actually hurts you more than anything else. So next one's gonna be low fat and fat-free foods are always healthier. The keyword is always. So in terms of trying to lose weight, they tend to be a good alternative to be able to make you help keep your calories low. But just because they're fat-free and low fat does not automatically make them healthier, because they tend to have a bunch of stuff added in to make them low fat and fat-free. So it's just gonna be one of those things like whole food versus processed food.
I did a lemonade diet. Has anybody heard of that one?
Oh goodness.
It was fresh lemonade squeezed. It was cayenne pepper, and I think there's a couple classes of the syrup, and I think it had to be like a grade B or grade A syrup. And I did that for like 13 days. That's all I had. I thought it was stupid. Don't get me wrong. And it was kind of tough for the first 3, 4 days, but then it got a lot easier. And I would never do it again. I most definitely lost weight, but probably not the healthiest of ways.
Well, yeah, I absolutely love. Thank you for sharing that. I have never heard of that before, I gotta say. So that is pretty eye-opening. But you kind of led to a great point with that. The weight, so technically, if you're barely or you're pretty much eating 0 calories, you are gonna be burning a little bit of fat, but then you're also not providing your body with fuel, so you are burning a little bit of muscle. You also now have zero waste in your system, glycogen stores, water retention, all that's going down. So it's not all, but like you said, it's kind of like more of a miserable experience, and that doesn't sound long term, was it?
Oh no.
Exactly. So I do appreciate that. Chris said in the chat, juice cleanse caused my wife to become reactive to strawberries. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more harm than it does good with doing these types of like juice cleanses and stuff, because our organs already do the job that these things say that they're supposed to. Unless you have some type of underlying issue with those organs, even at that point, that's a more medical doctor thing, not a cleanse type of thing. So I do appreciate everyone giving their experiences, and hopefully someone that could a pickle diet. Oh my gosh. These are diets I've never heard of before. So this is crazy. This is stuff that I've been around in the fitness industry for so long. These are new things for me. So yeah, those are just like insane. Like that's absolutely crazy. I'm sorry you guys have had to go through that. With that, the next one is just going to be avoid eating after 7 p.m. So there's a very big thing that I've heard. We're like, hey, like you have to stop eating at a certain amount of time, or your body is going to just store it all. So it is not the time or how often you eat or like how many meals you do, but it's just going to be your overall daily caloric intake. And then eating that late won't necessarily make you gain weight unless you're continuously overeating at night. If you're going binge eating, if you're snacking at night, that's the reason. But your body still is recovering when you sleep. So it is still using the nutrients that you're eating. It doesn't automatically, when you go to sleep, you then just no longer use the nutrients and it goes to fat. Magnesium citrate diet. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what that is either.
You drink a magnesium citrate and then you chug water and you're on the toilet for almost 24 hours.
Wow. That sounds awful. I gotta say, yeah, I'm absolutely glad this is blowing my mind. I never knew that there's so many of these diets and stuff. And at the end of it, it doesn't
That
change
sounds like
anything. I
a,
guarantee.
I was just gonna say, that sounds like a shitty diet. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the biggest thing, especially all of your coaches probably talk to you about it on here. I know I've talked about it with mine. It's more longevity. None of these are long-term fixes, and it's kind of like what I talked about on the past pages. These quick fixes tend to do more harm than good. So the last one that I really want to touch on for nutrition is going to be, it was kind of nutrition, more kind of like in fitness, but kind of encompasses all of them, is spot reduction. Everyone has at some place on their body that they wish they could lose fat quicker, or you'll see these posts on Instagram or on TikTok or stuff like that where it says like, do these ab exercises, and you'll shred this body fat, or do these arm exercises, kind of talk about the shake weight, and you'll burn the fat off your arms. Shake weight, perfect push-up, anything like those where it says like you can do these and it'll target. That's just a complete myth. So fat loss is purely genetics. So wherever your body allows you to lose body fat is where you lose it from. You cannot train one muscle group harder than the other and lose it in that area. It is already predetermined by your body. Unfortunately, I wish it was different, but that is just how it is. And if some program says like, hey, do this workout to remove this fat, it's completely false. It will not happen. Excellent. So with that, oh, it's not switching pages. There we go. Oh goodness. Sorry, it froze a little bit. There we go. Excellent. So any questions that people have, specifically nutritional ones? Any ones you guys want to shout out, either text, unmute yourself, anything like that? None at all? Got a quiet crowd tonight? Just give it a couple seconds in case anyone's typing.
I got one for the last
I
one,
get-
but I'll let someone else go first if they want to jump in.
I was just
you hear
gonna
me?
ask, I've heard there's been like, your body can only consume a certain amount of protein, so if you're consuming more than that in a meal, then it's useless or not being processed correctly.
Okay, that's fantastic. I actually love that you brought that up. So that one is very much incorrect. So your body can utilize a vast amount of protein. The biggest thing that's like the misconception with that one is if you eat a lot more in each meal, it will just take longer to digest. So that's where kind of like the big misconception is like, oh, if you eat, it's usually around 30 or 40 grams that you can only digest it within the 2 hours. Your body will digest the food if you like give it enough time. So if you eat your whole entire protein in one sitting, your body will digest it. It's just going to take tremendously longer. And there is actually no science to kind of back what is the most amount of protein that you can eat in one serving. It just takes longer to digest. Excellent. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to tack on to what you said on the very last one in regards to the whole spot reduction bullshit that people want. So while it's 100% true, and you cannot, oh, I want to lose weight on I'll use the abs as an easy example. But yeah, I want to lose my stomach fat, so I'm just gonna do a bunch of crunches. Like it doesn't work like that. But I will say, however, if like using the abs example again, if you train your abs appropriately, use progressive overload, all the same principles that build your other tissues, you will be able to see your abs at higher body fat percentages, but it does not burn any extra fat. You'll just be able to see the blocks at slightly higher body fat percentages. So just wanted to caveat that last one a tiny bit with a little add-on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, that's perfect. That's 100% true. The more muscle you build, the more that it takes up space, and so that's 100% true that it helps. Damon, how many hours should you stay awake after? I'm a little confused on that. What do you mean by like stay awake after overeating?
So you were saying that whenever you overeat, that you should give yourself like a certain amount of time before you go to bed, right? So when I do overeat at night, right? How many hours do you think I should stay up? Like 2 or 3?
Okay, so I think I misspoke on that. So what I was saying is that there's no like the amount of food that you eat at night doesn't matter. The reason why you do gain weight is if you're eating too much at the end of the night. So what I was saying is like what you eat, it doesn't matter when you eat, it's more over a 24-hour period. It's not necessarily like if you eat it at 8 p.m. that's going to immediately turn to fat, is what I was trying to say. I was saying that if you're gaining fat, it's because you're overeating at night, if that makes sense.
Tracking.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I either like misspoke on that, right? So yeah, so I was just saying that's more 24-hour caloric intake, not necessarily the past 7 p.m. one. Yeah, Greg, that was a fantastic question there. Excellent. So
Can you
I'm
hear
gonna
me?
start. Yep, I got you.
So I have a problem, and it's more of like I binge eat. In the morning, I try and eat something, but typically it's 3 eggs and that's it. And then I don't start eating until around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and I gotta cram all that shit. I hate eating. I wish we didn't have to eat. That's just the way I've been eating for the longest time. I'm just on the go, go, go. I don't have like any fatigue or anything throughout the day. This was going back to just cramming everything before you go to bed. And Marianne says it's fine. Even Matt says it's fine. I just is it better to try and at least space it out through the day?
I would say it's just more personal preference. I would say if you have digestion issues because you're eating too much at once, then I would say try to space it out. If you're having issues with eating too much food, that either digestion or the amount of carbs you're eating before bed is impeding your sleep, because some people are a little sensitive to carbs and so it keeps them up at night, or if it makes you wake up at night because of digestion issues, carbs, so much and so forth. I honestly, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's whatever fits your lifestyle longevity wise. So like it's depending on whatever fits your lifestyle that makes it the best way for you to reach your goals. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. Ideally would say try to space out a little bit, just so then that way your body can absorb the nutrients a little bit easier, just because as society, which I'm not trying to go on tangent. Society as general, our digestive, our foods are more processed stuff, and so it makes it harder for our bodies to digest it. So it tends to be slightly easier if we space it out versus eating all at once, but it's not going to make or break your goals, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I've lost like 17 pounds in 7 weeks,
Then
so I mean, it's obviously
Then I
working.
wouldn't change it. I was gonna say I would not change it if what Marianne's telling you, and obviously like she is absolutely killing it, and so I would not change the thing up. I would say if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Mm.
Excellent, awesome. So I'm gonna jump on from that. I tend to, like I said at the beginning, I tend to accidentally go too in depth in things, and I know I'm keeping you guys late, so I'll try to make these next two short and sweet. Weightlifting, working out. So this next one, lifting, makes women bulky, or anyone bulky in general. So this is the number one thing that drives me nuts, is where people come in the gym and they say like, hey, I just don't want to get bulky. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to build muscle. It is not something you casually do. It's not something you can easily do. It takes a lot of time and hard work and nutritional guidance and stuff to build muscle. So you're not going to, especially women. That's normally you hear more with women like, hey, I just don't want to get bulky. Women tend to have lower testosterone levels by a lot. And so it'll help you be leaner, stronger, and build muscle, but you will not accidentally get bulky. Very, very much not ever be the case. With that, you get to work out hours to see results. A longer workout does not necessarily mean a better workout. So short, high intensity workouts, I know some of you probably have HIIT workouts programmed with you, can be just as effective as drawn out sessions, especially if it's more intensity, consistency, as well as frequency than having super long workout. Because if you overtrain, it's just as detrimental as undertraining if you're getting to the point where you can't recover. Next one's just going to be cardio is the only way to lose weight. So cardio is a tool to help burn calories. It does not burn fat in of itself. A caloric deficit does. Strength training helps build muscle. And in muscle, the more muscle you have, increases metabolism, and it helps with more fat loss long term, and not just burning the calories instantaneously, but everything needs a caloric deficit. This is one that is very, very much like kind of like up in the air with a lot of people in the fitness industry. You can't build muscle and lose fat at the same time. It is very much harder to do it, but it is not impossible. We have many clients. A bunch of my clients, actually, the clients that are on here have build muscle and lose fat at the same time. It's just with the right programming, training, nutrition, recovery, you'll be able to do that. I have a raise of hands if people want to give it in the chat or speak out. How many of y'all have been able to increase muscle mass and burn body fat, or have been losing in their measurements they take for their coaches, show a higher percentage of fat mass loss than what the scale shows? Laura, I see you. And I better see some of my clients' hands raised up, because I know for sure some of them on here have. Excellent, excellent. James, I see you. Jacob, excellent. Awesome. So yeah, it's definitely possible, but it is kind of more like how well you're following the program that your coaches give you. So with that, just a couple more. So one thing is, more sweat means a better workout. I've seen plenty of people at the gym that will wear like sweatpants and a sweatshirt to make sure they sweat more. So sweat does not have any response to how much fat you're burning. It's just a way of your body cooling down. And so if you sweat more, that just means that your body's overheating more. The more sweat does not mean you're burning more calories. You could burn more calories not breaking a sweat than if you just sweated out a bucket. If I went to the gym and I wore 2 sweatshirts, a jacket, and some sweatpants and did the exact same workouts without that, I would not be burning any more calories. I would just be more dehydrated. I'd actually be fatiguing myself more. I'd actually be having worse of a workout because now I'm not recovering as effectively. Next one, just working out every day, could not be more wrong. So that's
another one too. That's another one too, Jesse. A lot of sweat. Another good sign of a lot of sweat is you're properly hydrated. That's another sign of it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
He's right. It don't matter how many clothes you got on. It really doesn't matter. It depends on how your body is burning that, the calories, fat, and how hot your body's getting.
Bill, I love that you asked that. That's actually going to be here in the next two, which I don't think, Bill, I don't think you're here. So if for everyone that's here, I did do a injury prevention one that I'll actually, if you remind me after this call, I'll send it to you. I did a whole injury prevention one on my last live training that we did. That I can send you it. That goes a lot more in depth into that, but I'll cover that just in a second. But right before that, working out every day, the times that you build muscle and you burn fat is when you're resting. It's not actually during the workouts themselves. It's when you are resting and recovering is going to be the time that you make the progress. So working out every day is actually less beneficial than if you have built-in rest days. Overtraining can lead to burnouts and specifically injuries. And one thing I'm very big on is if you're injured, it doesn't matter what your goals are, you can't achieve it. So kind of what you're talking about, stretching before workout, it prevents injuries. So static stretching is actually less beneficial before workout and decreases performance. There's a bunch of studies that show that if you do stretches where you just stretch a muscle and hold it, it decreases the amount of performance, the amount of power and strength you can produce. Dynamic warm-ups as well as mobility work are much, much more effective. So without going off on a whole tangent, I can send anyone, or you guys can ask the coaches for the last one that I did in injury prevention. But dynamic warm-ups and mobility work just means that we are taking joints, tendons, ligaments, muscles through a full active range of motion, making sure we're activating them and making sure we're getting blood flow in the area. When you do a static stretch, that just means you stretch and hold it. You're not lengthening it. You're not shortening it. You're not adding blood flow to it. You're just stretching and holding it. And that just means that you're not making sure that, hey, I'm taking it through the active range of motion that I'm then going to be training it in. So at the end, I'm sure we have someone, either Coach E or Matt has the recording for that video that we can send anyone that goes much more well. Yep, David. Yep, I have him doing mobility work and stuff like that. Bill, I can add that to you as well. But we can cover all that at the end as well. And this one, kind of we already touched on, but crunches give you flat abs, kind of like Greg already talked about as well, is ab strengthening, ab exercises strengthens the muscles, but they won't burn fat in that area. Like Greg touched on, building the muscle will make them more prominent. They'll make them stick out more so you can see them at a higher body fat percentage, but they don't actually remove the fat in that area themselves. Excellent. Last one. Muscle confusion is necessary for progress. So switching up the workouts is great, but going in and saying like I have to do something different every single workout is actually less beneficial. So the biggest thing and the number one thing, the only thing that builds muscle is progressive overload. So increasing weight, reps, or intensity over time is what drives muscle growth. So if you go in and do something different every single day, you have no idea like, hey, am I getting stronger at this movement each time? Or are you just kind of doing the same weight in a different movement each time and you have no way of driving stimulus, especially if you're doing a movement and a similar mechanic. So the kind of like the same motion, like say you do a dumbbell incline versus like a barbell incline from machine incline, you can progressively overload on that. But if you just go and do incline 1 week and then do flat 1 week and then you do decline 1 week and stuff, and you just constantly switch up the angles and mechanics, it's gonna be a lot harder for you to be able to build muscle because you don't know if you're pushing yourself each workout. So with that, anyone has working out, weightlifting myths or anything like that they would like to ask, touch on, add on, clarification on, anything like that, you can unmute yourself or just shoot it in the messages. Okay, Teresa, for me, until I started this program, I was never in the gym with the trainer. Everything seemed fine, but when I went to the gym, I was on my own. I actually injured myself on one of the machines. Now I'm nervous about working with equipment alone. So what do you mean with equipment alone? Do you think like, are you saying like you added in more stuff than just weightlifting equipment, or if you want to unmute and touch on that a little bit more? And are you like now not nervous, or what do you mean by that?
No, I've only been in the program for a week, and when I went to the gym, when you first sign up in a gym, you have to go in and a trainer shows you a handful of pieces of equipment. Well, the next day when I went back, you don't work with a trainer. You're there and you're looking at all these machines and it's like, I don't even understand what these machines do, let alone. And so Greg had given me one exercise and I didn't know what machine that would be. And so I went up to the desk because the lady had told me you could go to the desk and ask. And the guy walked over and he put me on a pulley machine. And he showed me how to do it. And then he walked away. And I'm pretty sure I told Greg the next day, I said, I won't use pulley machines ever again. I'm done with that because it was something where I had to pull down a bar with the weight on it, but I had to sit on a bench, and to sit to that bench, I have horrible knees. And when I tried to sit on that bench, I actually missed the bench and fell on the floor. And so as I was falling, trying to catch myself, I had that bar with one hand so the weights wouldn't slam, and it almost ripped my shoulder out.
Oh, wow. I'm really sorry to hear that. I definitely say then trying, like, if that's something that like being able to squat down to that, I would definitely mention that like beforehand if you have any issues with like sitting down to that. But that sounds like, I'm surprised the trainer at the gym didn't stick around to help you out.
Hey, real
when
quick,
you're doing
Jesse.
that. Yep, do that.
Hey, Greg, was it Greg Newman or Greg, who's the other one? The last name.
Have,
Oh, I
Pepper,
don't.
yeah, sorry.
It was
Uh,
Greg
Changed
that
the
was.
workout.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, let's get her switched over to just a dumbbell program.
Well,
We've already switched
he's-
it. Yeah,
Okay.
we switched it straight after.
okay,
Okay, cool.
perfect. Excellent. Awesome. So with that, Greg, is it better to stretch before, after, or just before when lifting weights? So doing dynamic stretching and mobility is better before, and then afterwards, I try to, unless you have something that specific area of injury, I try not to stretch afterwards, because when you work out, you cause inflammation, and when you stretch afterwards, it reduces some of that inflammation. So it's not gonna like kill your gains, but it does hamper progress a little bit, unless it is injury prevention to the point, like if you have something that is too much of an issue. Matt, I see you. I'll grab you here in a second. Free weights better than a Bowflex. Like Tomas asked, it's more your goals. So free weights are going to be more for building up stabilizer muscle groups and being using more than just the intended, versus Bowflex, kind of like a machine where you can do more isolation. 3 Greg's brother one. Matt, what you got for me?
One myth that I hear a lot about, especially with the type of work that I do for construction, is you can only work out and get in better shape by using weights. And as you know, I know that's not true, but there's a lot of people that don't know that you can get out there and do majority of the same workouts and push yourself to failure with just your body weight.
Yep. That's huge. Yeah, that's actually a great one. Calisthenics can build just as much as muscle as weights, machines, barbells, stuff like that. I have plenty of clients doing banded works as well. Just the biggest thing is if you're able to push more weight, push more reps, the progressive overload I was talking about is the #1 driving factor of muscle growth. And you can do that with your body weight. You can do that with bands. You can do that with household objects. I appreciate everyone kind of chiming with that, asking those questions. Those are fantastic questions. Gonna run through some more. I ended up seeing that like it's going spending a lot of time with, so I'll try to make this short, as sweet as possible. Running's the best form of cardio for fat loss. I don't think I have barely anyone other than maybe Matt who was running at the beginning of this call. I really don't have too many clients actually running whatsoever. The best cardio is going to be the one that you can do. So swimming, cycling, rowing, HIIT workouts could be equally as effective or more effective if you're not having issues with injuries. So running is a good form, but it's not the only one. It doesn't have to be the only one. Longer cardio sessions will burn more fat. So kind of like those HIIT we were talking about. So you can definitely have the same energy expenditure in shorter times than longer ones. So just because you're on the treadmill for an hour versus doing a HIIT workout for 30 minutes does not mean that hour is going to be better. Cardio, every day to see results. Definitely don't have to. Kind of with the weight training, it's going to be more of a balanced routine of strength training. Cardio a few times is very, very sufficient. And so with that, overdoing cardio, kind of like we were talking about with overtraining, can lead to muscle loss if we're not pairing it with workouts with strength training. And then you lose weight with doing cardio alone. So you can't do that like we've talked about, like I keep beating the drum about. It is always a caloric deficit. Cardio is just a tool to help you burn calories to put you in that caloric deficit. As well as if you don't do that, and we're just trying to do that, and we don't do any strength training, you will end up burning some muscle, especially if you're not eating enough protein, eating enough calories, all that good stuff. So with that, cardio before weight training is the best. This is probably the #1 that I hear. So if you want to do a short warm up before the workout to make sure that everything's moving well, got your heart rate up, that's perfect. But doing too much cardio, too hard of cardio is actually worse if your goal is to build muscle or lose fat. Because the same energy stores you use for working out is what you use for cardio. You need more energy to be able to push yourself during workouts to get those extra reps, to get those extra weight. You do not need nearly as much energy to go on a walk. You don't need nearly as much energy to go on a treadmill and stuff like that. So always, always, always do cardio after the workouts unless your goal is cardiovascular endurance. And then for some reason, there's a golden rule of 30 minutes of cardio for maximum benefit, and that's just not true. So it could be like if you're just trying to get your step goal, you can do 10 minutes, you can do 50 minutes, it really doesn't matter. Then the other one is cardio is only effective if it's fasted. So the most important factor, like I keep saying, is going to be a caloric deficit. It doesn't matter if you do fasted cardio if you're eating more calories than you are burning. So with that, the #1 is cardio kills gains. This is why I hear all the time, especially from the younger generation. And so like I've already talked about, excessive cardio with poor nutrition, poor recovery is going to be the thing that makes you lose muscle mass. But if you're eating enough protein, if you're eating enough calories to fuel your workouts, if you're strength training and progressive overloading, then that will be there. You will not burn any muscle mass. So just because you're doing cardio will not make you lose any muscle mass unless everything else is insufficient. So with that, any cardio myth questions? Anything you guys have? As per usual, unmute yourself, throw them in the chat.
Hey Jesse, I got a question.
What's up? What's up?
It's not really cardio. It's so I find myself doing these band workouts, and so as I find myself being able to do more reps, instead of doing more reps for the sets, I move up the weight of the band.
Yep.
So
That's
I'm doing
perfect.
more. I'm doing more weight than I am doing reps.
Yeah.
And it
Yep.
it puts a harder workout on my muscles, even though I'm only getting 10 reps for 4 sets.
Yeah. No, that's
I mean,
perfect.
is that sufficient?
No, that's better than sufficient. So if you're able to do 10 reps, but a heavier band and still do 10 reps, that is progressive overload. So progressive load is if you can do the same weight for more reps, or you do a heavier weight with like around the same reps, or being able to push the weight and then work up to that same amount of reps. So that's actually perfect. That's exactly what you do to be able to build muscle. So that's actually perfect. What can I do in a wheelchair for cardio to swim while too cold to still too cold to swim?
I got an answer for that one, Jesse.
Perfect. Hit it.
Nathan, can you get a heavy bag and lock your wheelchair and punch the heavy bag? Or do you have because I'm a boxing coach also, so this is one of my things that I have my fighters do for cardio. Or do you have a 2.5 to a 5 pound dumbbell? If not, you can use a can of beans or a can of vegetables.
I have 2 5-pound dumbbells and
Okay.
2 8 kettlebells.
Okay, so this is what I want you to do with the 2 5-pound dumbbells. All right, I'm gonna help you out. This is just a boxing thing you can add for cardio to outside of swimming. Engage your core the entire time. Try to sit up as straight as you can and punch for 3 minutes straight, just like this, with your core engaged. And if you can't make it 3 minutes, go as long as you can.
It'll just take me back to my kickboxing days.
There you go. Think about it. Do you burn more calories? Is it harder to kick or punch?
Kick, really. But
Yep, you use more energy expenditure to kick, right? So now that you're in a wheelchair and you just got your arms, there you go. So now turn your arms into your legs and your hands. You see what I'm saying? Think about it. If you can do this for 3 minutes straight, not saying you're going to get in a fight, right? But the average street fight takes 30 seconds of actual fighting. You're able to do that times 10 now. But make sure your core is engaged and breathe through your nose. That'll help a lot. It'll build up your shoulder endurance too.
Excellent. Awesome. That's great. One of the Gregs, I don't even know which Greg this is, but he said battle ropes. If you're at the gym, battle ropes are an insane workout. It goes along with like the punching stuff. I don't know which Greg that is. I think that's Hep, but I'm not 100% sure. But battle ropes are great. Well, there's also 2 Coach Gregs, so that didn't clarify too much. I'm assuming that's Hep. We could put last names. Okay, thank you. So okay, so battle ropes are a fantastic idea. They also have, I know some gyms, they have them. They're basically like pedals, but your hands, you sit there and you can pedal with your hands. Some gyms have access to them, some of them don't. You could do things where like kind of like the punching where you have to hold out like a weight or something like that out in front of you. You just basically work on like how long you can hold it. More of an endurance factor. We're not really worried about building muscle, but the more endurance factor is going to help you burn more calories. So with that kind of inclusion, debunking the myths, you can definitely navigate the world of like nutrition, programming, and cardio to focus on like what really is going to help you achieve your goal, which is kind of like the whole point of this program. The whole point of this program is for us to be able to tell you, hey, this is how we are going to get you from A to B, and for you to do it in a safe, healthy, as well as longevity way. So that's going to be the biggest thing, is just trying to make sure that we're not doing things that are making you waste time, energy, and money, or get you to the point where it's detrimental to your health. So with that, the book of the month that I have for y'all is Health Myths, Debunking Common Misconceptions and Optimized Well-Being. And so this one you can get on a couple different websites. Just gonna be kind of like more focused around health, foods, all that fun stuff, but kind of like if you want to take some time, dive into some more foods, more nutrition, stuff like that, it's definitely good to read. So with that, the client of the month, this was definitely one of the hardest decisions I had to make. I've had a fantastic amount of clients that it made it a very, very hard. I have an amazing group. And so there's a bunch of them that are killing them, a ton of them that are on the call today. So it makes it very difficult. But for this one, it's going to be my man, Matt. Bubba is his name in the chat. And so he's currently down 18 pounds. But the biggest thing is he's down 11% body fat. So when I was talking about when we're talking about building muscle and losing body fat at the same time, 18 pounds down is fantastic, but 11% body fat means that he has lost a lot more body fat than what 18 pounds show. And with that, we were on a call recently where he said he put on like 4 or 5 inches onto his arms during this program as well, chest increasing, as well as he is 100% compliant through every single thing. So he's been absolutely killing it. Absolutely insane. And the reason why I chose him, even though I have bukus of clients, especially ones on the calls that have been doing fantastic, this is my only client that I have said that he has traveled for work constantly. And in the middle of winter when we were working, he had no access to a gym, did not have any room in his hotel room. So in like 20, 30 degree weather, went outside with his bands and his kettlebells to do his workouts and did not miss a singular time. Absolutely insane. Just killing it. Honestly, could not ask for a better client, and he's been absolutely crushing it. The results are definitely showing, and it's just the beginning. Excellent. Awesome. Well, that is everything that I have for y'all today. I do appreciate it. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about, or I'll see if we can get that Zoom if we're talking more about the injury prevention and stuff like that. I can get that sent out to a bunch of y'all if you were not here for it, or you missed it, or you just want to kind of deal more with like in terms of the stretching mobility stuff. But I do appreciate everyone showing up.
Nice. You can unshare your screen, Jesse.